Lately, Lana's been coming home later than usual. First, it was just 20 minutes, then an hour, then two, always with a rushed excuse. Work was crazy. Had to drop off something for a friend. You know how traffic is. I nodded every time, but something didn't sit right. She used to call me on her lunch breaks. Now I barely get a text. If I ask how her day went, she just shrugs and says, same as always. No smile, no warmth, just distance, like I'm a stranger in my own house. She started dressing differently too. More makeup, new clothes I'd never seen before, tight jeans, heels she never used to wear, not even on date nights. I joked once, trying to impress someone. She laughed a little too loud, then changed the subject. My gut twisted, but I didn't press. Not yet. One night I went to hug her when she walked in. She pulled back slightly, just enough for me to notice. Her jacket brushed my shoulder. That's when I smelled it. Cologne. Sharp, expensive, definitely not mine. I didn't wear anything that strong. My scent was light, barely there. This one stuck. New perfume? I asked, trying to keep my voice even. She blinked. Huh? Oh, no. I was around some coworkers. One of the guys wears too much cologne. It must have rubbed off. I nodded again. My heart didn't. Later that night, she sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone. Her screen lit up for a second, and I caught a glimpse of a name I hadn't seen in a while. Tyler. Tyler. My best friend. She tilted the screen away quickly. Just checking emails, she said. I didn't ask. I just went to the kitchen, pretending to look for something. My hands shook a little. The next morning, she took her phone into the bathroom. She never used to do that. I walked by the door and heard her whispering, then silence when I got close. At breakfast, I tried to meet her eyes. She smiled, but it didn't reach her face. It was one of those practiced smiles, the kind you give a cashier, not a husband. You okay? I asked. Yeah, just tired. I stared at my coffee. Me too. I wanted to believe her. God knows I did. 10 years of marriage, a home we built together, late night talks, road trips, inside jokes, all of it. But now there was a wall between us, one I didn't build, one I didn't understand. I didn't say anything that day, or the next. But I watched, I listened, every move, every word, every little detail. My gut wouldn't shut up. And I've learned something in life. When your heart wants to believe, but your gut keeps whispering, you listen to your gut. It's weird how you start noticing the things you used to ignore. Lana changed her phone password. She used to hand me her phone all the time. Can you check the weather? Order the food while I drive. Now it never leaves her side. She even takes it with her to the shower. Always face down, always silent. One night we were watching a movie. Her phone buzzed twice. She grabbed it quickly and typed something fast. I pretended not to notice, but I saw it. The way her fingers shook just a little. The way she glanced at me, then looked away. She said she needed more me time. Started going on walks. Said she joined a book club, but she never brought home any books. Just came back flushed, hair slightly messy, and smelling like the same cologne again. I cleaned out the laundry room over the weekend, found a receipt in the pocket of her jacket, a dinner for two, steakhouse, wine, chocolate dessert, Saturday night. She told me she was at a friend's birthday that day. I remember I stayed home and made her favorite pasta for when she got back. She barely touched it, said she was full. I kept the receipt, didn't say a word. Then came Tyler. He stopped calling. We used to talk almost every other day. Now it's once a week, if that. I asked him if he wanted to catch up over beers like we used to. He said he was slammed with work. Twice in a row. His voice sounded different, distant, like someone who owed me money and didn't want to admit it. I checked my old group photos, everyone from the last few months. Tyler's in them. Right next to Lana, always close, always laughing, and I never saw it, never thought anything of it. I started testing them. I'd bring up Tyler's name casually around Lana. Tyler called today, I said one night. She looked up fast. Oh, what did he say? Just catching up, I replied. She nodded too quickly, then changed the subject. Again. The tension started building, not loud, not dramatic, just quiet, cold space growing between us. I lay in bed next to her, staring at the ceiling, while she typed in the dark beside me. Her screen glowed for a second, and I saw a message pop up. Just one word, soon. She turned her screen off immediately. I stared at the ceiling a long time after that. My mind kept spinning. All the signs were there, the changes, the excuses, the lies. But this was something else. This wasn't just some stranger. If I was right, if it really was Tyler, then I wasn't just being cheated on. I was being betrayed by the two people I trusted most. I told Lana I was heading out of town for a couple of days. A customer needed help with a car that broke down 2 hours away. She nodded, barely looking up from her phone. "Drive safe," she said. I watched her for a second, waiting for something, anything in her voice. Concern, interest, nothing, just those two words. I kissed her on the forehead and walked out. I wasn't going out of town. Instead, I stopped by an electronics store and bought a discreet, hidden camera, one that could sit on the bookshelf, disguised as a Bluetooth speaker. I knew exactly where to place it, our living room, angled toward the couch, the same spot where we used to cuddle and laugh, where we opened wedding gifts, where we built a life. I connected the camera to my phone, tested the feed, and left the house. I checked into a motel 15 minutes away. Cheap place, smelled like old smoke. But it had Wi-Fi. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the live feed on my phone. The living room sat still, empty. My heart beat loud in my ears. I waited. Hours passed. Lana came home around 6:40 p.m. She tossed her purse on the counter and fixed her hair in the hallway mirror. She looked excited, like she used to when we had date nights. She sprayed perfume, that one I hadn't smelled in months. At 7:12, the doorbell rang. She opened it. Tyler walked in. I couldn't breathe. He hugged her. She held him longer than friends do. Then they kissed. Not a fast, guilty kiss. A soft, slow one, like they'd done it before, like it was normal. She poured wine. They laughed, sat on our couch. My chest felt hollow. My hands shook, but I didn't look away. They toasted. "To freedom," Tyler said, raising his glass. "Once this is done." She smiled. "I can't wait." I hit record. They stayed for hours, talking, laughing, whispering things I didn't want to hear. I watched every second. It hurt like hell, but I needed the truth. And now I had it, in perfect detail. They didn't know I saw, they didn't know I knew, but now everything had changed. This wasn't just about cheating. This was betrayal, planned and served with wine and smiles. I saved the video, backed it up twice, my laptop and an old USB. Then I stared at the screen, at the two people I thought I could trust. I didn't cry, I didn't throw anything, I just sat there frozen until the screen went dark. They wanted freedom, I'd give it to them, but not in the way they expected. The next morning I came home like nothing had happened. Lana was making coffee, humming some song under her breath. She smiled when she saw me, acting like everything was normal. "How was the job?" she asked. "Long drive, same old stuff," I said, keeping my voice steady. She poured me a cup. Her hands didn't shake. Her face didn't flinch. If guilt lived anywhere in her, she hid it well. Too well. I sat at the table and watched her move around the kitchen. I used to love mornings like this. Now every second made my stomach turn. That night I texted Tyler, thinking about heading to the cabin this weekend. "You down?" He replied within minutes. "Hell yeah, need a break?" The cabin had belonged to my grandfather. Middle of nowhere, no neighbors, no cameras, no phone signal. It was perfect. I smiled at the screen. Good. Step 1, done. Over the next 2 days, I made sure the place was ready. I drove out during the day while Lana thought I was at work, cleaned up the dust, set up 2 tiny security cameras, and tested a voice recorder under the table. Just in case. I brought sleeping bags, beer, and food, made it look like a guy's weekend. Back home, I told Lana I'd be gone for 2 nights. She barely blinked. "You'll have the house to yourself," I said casually. She gave me a small smile. "Nice. I'll finally get to relax." "I bet you will." Friday afternoon, I loaded the truck and picked Tyler up. He tossed his bag in the back and jumped in like everything was normal. "I need this, man," he said. "Been too stressed." "Same," I lied. "This'll be good." We drove out of town, talking about football and dumb stories from high school. The whole ride, I wanted to grab him by the collar and scream, "How could you do this to me?" But I didn't. I laughed at his jokes. I let him talk. I let him feel safe. By the time we reached the cabin, it was dark. The wind had picked up, and the trees around us swayed like they knew something was about to happen. Inside, we cracked open a couple of beers. I lit the fireplace. He kicked back like it was his second home. "So," he said, How's everything with you and Lana? I looked at him. He held my gaze for a second, then looked away. We're good, I said, sipping my drink. She's been quiet lately, but you know how it is. He nodded slowly. Yeah, relationships go through stuff. I smiled inside. He had no idea how deep he was already in. Let him drink, let him relax, because by the end of this weekend, he'd know exactly how betrayal feels. The cabin was quiet, except for the crackling fire. Tyler leaned back on the couch, beer in hand, looking completely relaxed. I sat across from him, watching closely. You ever feel like people change on you? I asked, keeping my tone light. He raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Like, you think you know someone, then one day it's like you're living with a stranger. Tyler laughed, took a sip of his drink. That's deep, man. Lana giving you a hard time? I shrugged. She's been distant, got me thinking. He shifted a little in his seat. Maybe she's just stressed, work and stuff. Maybe. I paused, then added, You'd tell me if you knew something, right? He froze just a second. Not long, but I saw it. Course, man, you're my brother. Always. I nodded, keeping the smile on my face, but inside, I wanted to snap. Instead, I stood and grabbed another beer. Let's get drunk. That made him grin. Now you're talking. The night went on. I let him drink more than I did. Every time his bottle emptied, I offered another. He didn't say no. He never did. After a while, he started talking more, looser, sloppier. You know, he said, slurring slightly, Lana's hot, man. You're lucky. I gave a short laugh. Yeah? He nodded. I mean, if I wasn't your friend, never mind. I leaned forward, pretending to be curious. What? He smirked. Forget it, just drunk talk. But I didn't forget. Later, he passed out on the couch, snoring softly, empty beer bottle on the floor. I stood over him, looking down at the man who had stabbed me in the back. I pulled his phone from his pocket, careful not to wake him, typed in the code I'd seen him use 100 times. It opened. I scrolled through his messages, and there they were. Texts from Lana, too many to count, some old, some from just days ago. I miss you. He's going away this weekend. Come over. I wish I could wake up next to you. My hands gripped the phone tighter. I screenshotted everything, sent them to my email, backed them up to my drive. Then I went to his photo gallery, selfies of them together, one of them in our bed. I almost threw the phone across the room. Instead, I put it back in his pocket and stared at him sleeping, peaceful, like he hadn't just destroyed everything. Sleep well, Tyler, I whispered. You won't when I'm done. Because now I had it all. The truth, the evidence, the plan. And next, I was going to show Lana that the game was over. I left the cabin early the next morning. Tyler was still passed out on the couch, snoring like nothing in the world could touch him. I didn't wake him, I just grabbed my keys, walked out, and drove straight home. Lana didn't expect me back until the next day. Her car was in the driveway when I pulled in. My heart pounded, but I was calm, colder than I'd ever felt. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. The house was quiet, too quiet. I could hear faint music coming from upstairs. I followed it. She was in the bedroom, standing in front of the mirror, fixing her hair. She wore a silk robe, black, with lace on the sleeves, something I'd never seen before, something she hadn't worn for me. When she saw me in the reflection, she froze. Her brush slipped from her hand and hit the floor. David, she said, startled, you're back early. I stepped forward, slow and steady. Yeah, thought I'd surprise you. She turned to face me. Her face tried to play calm, but I saw the panic building behind her eyes. I was just relaxing, she said, voice shaking slightly. I nodded. Waiting for someone? She hesitated. Number, of course not. I reached into my pocket and pulled out Tyler's phone. I tapped the screen and held it up. Her face went pale. You want to read them out loud? I asked. Or should I? She opened her mouth, then closed it again. I scrolled slowly. Can't stop thinking about last night. He's clueless. Just a little longer and it's just us. Lana's legs gave out a little and she sat on the edge of the bed. David, she whispered, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to what? I said. Didn't mean to lie, sneak around, sleep with my best friend in the bed I bought you. Tears welled up in her eyes. But I didn't care anymore. Not a single part of me softened. "You don't understand," she said. "I understand more than you think," I said, pulling a small USB from my pocket and tossing it onto the nightstand. Camera footage from the night I was gone. She stared at it, stunned. I stood tall, calm, in control. "I know everything, Lana. Every message, every kiss, every lie she tried to stand. Maybe to come closer, maybe to explain." I stepped back. "No," I said sharply. "You don't get to cry now. You don't get to act like you're the one who's hurt." Silence filled the room. I turned and walked toward the door. She called after me. "Please, I wait." But I didn't. That silence I left her with, it was louder than any scream I could have given. I didn't go home that night. I didn't answer her calls. I didn't reply to the texts that started flooding in. "Please come back. We need to talk. I messed up. I'm sorry." I turned off my phone and drove to the edge of town. There was an old gravel road near the cliffs, the kind of place people only visited to take pictures of the sunset or be alone. That night, I had something else in mind. I parked my truck near the drop and pulled out the small duffel bag I packed earlier. Old clothes, one of my flannel shirts, and the fake blood I picked up from a Halloween store last year. I splashed it over the shirt, the jeans, the shoes. Then I left my wedding ring on the passenger seat, next to a typed letter, not handwritten, typed, just a few lines, about betrayal, about being tired, about not being able to take it anymore. I made sure the truck was in the right position, angled toward the drop, front wheels hanging just slightly off the edge. I left the door open, then I walked away. Half an hour later, I called it in, used a burner phone. "There's a truck near the cliff. Looks like someone might have jumped." I threw the phone into the woods. The police found it that night. My truck, the clothes, the ring, the note. They searched the water for a body. Didn't find one, just what I wanted. A couple days later, my face was in the paper. My name on the news. Local mechanic presumed dead after apparent suicide. They showed my photo, interviewed a neighbor, talked about how no one saw it coming. And Lana gave a statement on camera, her eyes red, her voice soft and broken. "I wish I had seen the signs," she said. "I wish I could have helped him." She wore black. She held back tears. She played the part beautifully. Tyler stayed out of sight. Coward. But I knew he was watching too. They thought I was gone, dead, buried by my own hand. But I was alive. More alive than ever. I watched the broadcast from a motel an hour away. No lights on, just the flickering screen and the sound of Lana's voice lying to the world. I didn't feel pain. I didn't feel hate. I felt focused. This wasn't over. Not yet. They took everything from me. Now I'd take everything from them, and they'd never even see it coming. The night before the memorial, I sent out a few emails, no names, no warnings, just a video file titled Truth. I sent it to her parents, our mutual friends, a few co-workers, and one to the church's media team. Then I sat back and waited. The next morning the church was packed. People showed up in black, holding flowers, whispering quietly in the pews. My photo was printed on a large board near the front. Me smiling, looking peaceful, like someone who died happy. Lana stood by the front row, wearing a long black dress. She looked perfect, broken but beautiful. She hugged people, cried at the right times. A friend spoke first, then her dad, then her. She stepped up to the microphone, holding a folded piece of paper with trembling hands. "David was the kindest man I've ever known," she said softly. "He had the biggest heart, always putting others before himself. I wish I had told him more how much I loved him." Her voice cracked right on cue. A few people wiped their eyes. I was standing in the back, hat pulled low, collar turned up. No one looked twice at me, just another face in the crowd. Then the screen behind the altar lit up. It wasn't a slideshow, it was the video. Lana and Tyler, sitting close, laughing, kissing. Then the messages, her words, his voice, the plans. Gasps filled the church. A few people stood. Her mother covered her mouth. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Lana turned around slowly, her face pale. "No," she whispered. Turn it off. But it kept playing. "He has no idea. After this weekend, we're free. Soon it'll just be us." She ran toward the tech table. Turn it off. That's not supposed to. Too late. Every lie, every secret, out in the open. The video ended and silence filled the room. Heavy, crushing. Then I stepped forward, slowly, calmly. People turned, mouths dropped open. Someone gasped, "He's alive." Lana froze. Her whole body went still. When our eyes met, she looked like she'd seen a ghost. I walked straight down the center aisle. No rush, no emotion. When I got close, I stopped and looked at her. "You should have practiced grief better," I said quietly. "Real grief, not the fake kind." She tried to speak, but nothing came out. I turned to the crowd. She thought I was gone, thought she got away with it, but the truth doesn't stay buried. Everyone watched, silent, stunned. Tyler didn't show his face that day, he knew better, but Lana stood there shaking, mascara running down her cheeks, surrounded by people who now saw her for who she really was. The grieving widow act was over, and the real show had just begun. The next day, I met with my lawyer. I didn't want drama. I wanted everything handled clean, legal, and fast. I filed for divorce immediately, cited infidelity, submitted the evidence, videos, screenshots, text messages. It wasn't even a question. The court didn't waste time. She didn't bother fighting. What could she say? I froze the joint bank accounts before she could touch a penny, transferred my share to a new account under my name. She was left with nothing. I kept the house, the shop, everything we built because I built it. She just played a part in the photo albums. Then came Tyler. I'd done my homework. Tyler had been hiding money, underreporting taxes on property sales, lying to clients. I sent everything I found to the IRS and then to a detective I knew through a friend. He was arrested 2 weeks later. Fraud, embezzlement, the whole package. His face was on the news now, not for cheating, for scamming half the town. Lana tried calling me once, blocked. Then she emailed me. "You didn't have to ruin my life." I didn't reply. She ruined it herself. I just turned on the lights. She moved out of town. Word spread fast. People stopped talking to her. Her friends dropped her. Her job let her go. She ended up in a rundown apartment 3 cities away. I know because the investigator gave me her forwarding address in case of court paperwork. The place had peeling paint, broken mailboxes, and a busted front door. That's where she landed. From silk robes and champagne to frozen dinners and silence. I didn't smile when I saw the pictures. I didn't feel joy. I felt done. No rage, no heat, just peace. Some people say revenge doesn't fix anything, but they've never been stabbed in the back by the 2 people they trusted most. I didn't hurt them physically, I didn't scream, I didn't lose control, I just let the truth do the work. Now they get to live with it every day, every minute. They get to remember what they threw away. They get to remember the moment everything fell apart, and that I was the one holding the last card. My therapist once asked me if I wanted closure. I said no, I wanted truth, I wanted justice, and now I have both. It's been almost a year since everything happened. Sometimes it feels like a dream, like I watched someone else's life fall apart. But then I look in the mirror and I remember it was mine. I sold the house a few months ago. Too many memories in those walls. Good ones, bad ones, all tangled up together. I packed what mattered, left the rest behind, and drove until the air felt different. Now I live in a small town by the coast. Nothing fancy, just quiet, peaceful. I rented a place near the water. Mornings start with coffee and ocean breeze. No more lies, no more tension. Just quiet. I opened a small garage. Just me, a couple tools, and the sound of real work. People come in with broken things, and I fix them. It feels good to fix something again. After everything, that means more than I can explain. I talk to my neighbors. I read again. I even sleep better. One afternoon, a woman came into the shop. Claire. Her car had a busted radiator. We talked while I worked, nothing serious. She laughed at one of my dumb jokes, and for the first time in a long time, I laughed too. She came back the next week with cookies to say thank you. We talked longer. She didn't ask about my past, and I didn't offer, but something about her felt real. No games, no masks, just kindness. I think I might like her. I don't know where it'll go. I'm not rushing. I'm not the same man I was before. I'm slower now, wiser, maybe, a little more guarded, but not closed off. One night, Claire and I sat on the beach, watching the sunset. She looked over at me and asked, "You've seen pain, haven't you?" I nodded. She didn't push, just gently touched my hand and said, "Sometimes people like us find the best kind of peace." I didn't say anything back. I didn't need to. Later that week, I wrote my story down, not for revenge, not for attention, just to let it go. I posted it online anonymously. Thousands of people read it. Some called me a hero. Others said I went too far. I don't care. I didn't write it for them. I wrote it for me. Because healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means surviving. It means walking through the fire and coming out stronger. I lost everything. Then I found myself. And now every morning, when the sun hits the water just right and the world feels still for a moment, I smile. Not because I got even, but because I got free.